Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Painfully Honest Tech podcast. If you're brand new here and you don't know what the heck is going on, well, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech, the podcast. And what do we do here? We look at news throughout the tech world and we try and decide if any of it's worth talking about, and then we talk about it. There will be guests from time to time on the show, but as of now, it's going to be me talking about my favorite tech news of the past several days. I'm going to do this once a week. It's going to be available on iTunes. You can go over there and grab a subscription, or all the other places that you get your podcasts from, the Stitcher, the Google Play, the whatever, all those things. You can go there and get your subscription right on your phone so that you can listen to this, I don't know, like in your car or when you're mowing the lawn or when you're doing anything, if that's something that you want to choose to do. Because it's America after all, and if you don't choose to do it, what am I going to say? Anyway, so the big news today was Google I/O, or whatever it is. They just announced a ton of stuff at Google I/O about Android and about other things, but I'm going to focus mainly on the Android stuff because I have to admit, some of what they announced for Android has got me leaning a little bit to the Android side right now. A lot of things that I really liked about iOS 11 now have counterparts in the Android world. Plus, they've done a lot of different things. So let's take a look at the first story and see what we can find out. So this story here, just from Tom's Guide, written by Mark Spoonhour, he talks about how Android is already beating iPhone 10. Well, I don't think the title is completely correct. Android P already beats iPhone 10 in beta. I mean, can the operating system beat a phone? I know what he means, but somebody should have read this headline and done some brain thinking. So there's all kinds of good stuff going on here. They're focused on more AI, where like something that you want to do in your phone, if you search for an app, let's say, or you search a certain thing, let's say, Google will go into what they call, Android will go into what they call slices, and they'll find a deeper, something deeper inside of an app that you may want to do at that moment because you've got, you've just searched for, the example everybody was giving was Lyft. If you type in Lyft, then it'll give you the app, but it also give you the option to select go home or something like that. And so it's all done very much more seamlessly and easily. And that's one of the things that Google is focusing on with Android P, making things easier. And that has always been one of my huge things about Android. Android allows you to do all kinds of stuff. It's very flexible. It's very customizable, but most of the time I find it to be very, how shall we say, confusing sometimes, bass-ackwards sometimes. And now Google seems to be, with Android P, trying to streamline some stuff and make stuff better. I did install Android P on the beta that's available right now. I did install it on my Google Pixel 2 XL, and I'm happy to report that some things that I didn't hear about in some of the articles that I was reading are available, and that's very cool. So one thing that it does is it gets rid of the home button and the other two buttons that used to flank it, and it turns into a little pill, I guess. You swipe up once and you get to what they're calling the dashboard, which is the app switcher, but it's everything in here is live and ready to go. So you can copy and paste things and all kinds. See, copy. Yeah. So you can do a bunch of different stuff in there. And it has little gear icons, and you can go straight into split screen and get the app info from and the settings of that particular app just right here on the dashboard. If you swipe up one more time, then you get to your conventional app switcher, which I think is pretty darn cool. But something that I didn't hear about, now, those of you listening in podcast land, you can't know that I have a dark wallpaper going on, but I do. It's just a sort of dark gray background. And what I've noticed is that when you have said background, it has dark mode, native dark mode, as far as I can tell, in this new version of Android P. I think if I were to have a lighter background, it would go back to being white in there. Still, they put the setting. One thing that's weird is, like, you can't get to the settings until you swipe down twice, unless there's someplace else you can do it, and I don't know about it. But yeah, it's pretty darn slick, to tell you the truth. And I've just an hour ago loaded it onto my phone, so I don't really know all that much about it. One thing that I do know they've changed is how the volume works. The volume now by default controls the media volume, not the ringer volume, which is good. And it's displayed along the left side of, or the right side, depending on it's displayed on the right side as you face the phone. When you click the volume up and down button, you can check it out, and then you hit a little gear icon, and that gets you to all of your audio settings. So that is pretty darn cool. These are things that I've wanted Android to have and to do for a long time. And what I hear, like over here, we have another article. The top 5 things according to Inverse from Google I/O. So Android P gets a fresh look. So we've talked about the new look and everything like that. Google Lens, which is something I've never tried to use, has been improved and put into natively into the camera app. So need to spend much more time going through and finding out what it can do and all that. I dig into it and really get to know. You got augmented reality in Google Maps. So this is something cool. So you can see Street View and your route, and you can also see on the Street View the direction that you're supposed to turn and all that. So walking down a street in an unfamiliar town or city is going to be a lot easier now that you can have both the real-time view with the augmented reality arrows pointing you in the right direction, as well as a map view of your route. So that is pretty cool. And then the photo AI is getting an upgrade. And the photo AI was already pretty freaking great. So it looks like you can do a lot of different things, like fix brightness, and it's another thing I'm going to have to dig deeper in, but suffice it to say that this is pretty darn slick. To make things simpler, it says the photo app is going to suggest through this AI technology things that it believes need to be fixed in the photo. And it'll be like having a professional photo editor right there at your fingertips. I don't know about that, but it will. If it works and doesn't make everything look janky, then that's better than most companies do. So, hurrah! Google Assistant gets new voices. So I don't think these are. I dug in to see if I could get John Legend's voice as my Google Assistant, but I found only voice number 1 and voice number 2, the 2 male and female voices on the Google Voice Assistant. But John Legend is going to be one of the assistants that you can use. You can use his voice as your Google Assistant, and there are going to be, I think, 4 or 5 more that are going to be available. So you don't have to listen to the lady or the man. You know, Alexa has a name, Siri has a name, Google Assistant doesn't have a name. I wonder, there's market research behind that. There's some kind of reason behind that. I don't know what it is, but there's something, and I want to find out what it is. Why doesn't Google Assistant have a name like, Jimmy or Jane or something like that? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they don't like J names. Also, it's promising to use AI to save you battery life. It's somehow going to notice the apps that you are using most and the apps that you are not using, and it's going to sort of put those apps to sleep more effectively and only focus battery life on the apps that you're using the most. It says here that you can get something up to 30% reduction in CPU usage, and if that's the case, then I will be very happy, because Android battery life has always been awful. It's better on the Pixel devices, but I've never been able to be satisfied with the battery the way that I have with iPhone. So that if this new thing works, then we're gonna hopefully see something awesome. So, speaking of battery life, I found this very interesting. Now, the LG G7 ThinQ, or I think it should be Think, but who am I? They did some testing on the battery of the ThinQ to find out how well it stacks up against the current crop of phones. So the ThinQ has a 3,000 milliamp hour battery, and they put it up against the Huawei Mate 2, the Pixel 2 XL, the Apple iPhone 8 Plus, Google Pixel 2, Samsung S9, S9 Plus, iPhone 10, iPhone 8, LG V30. And, so if we look here at this graph, we'll see that the ThinQ only beats the V30. And the V30 has a 3,300 milliamp hour battery. So that's kind of poor. The average battery life screen on time for the ThinQ was 8 hours and 35 minutes. 8 hours and 35 minutes is not a lot of time. So the Huawei Mate Pro wins the whole thing with 14 hours and 33 minutes. It's got a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. The Pixel 2 comes in at 12 minutes, and then we've got the 8 Plus at 11, the Pixel 2 at 11:16 for the 8 Plus, and we've got 11:07 for the Pixel 2, S9 Plus, 10:59, S9, 10:52. They've both got, iPhone 10, 10:49, iPhone 8, 9:50, V30, 6:30. So the ThinQ, if that is actually the kind of battery life that you get on this phone, then that's a non-starter for me already out of the gate. I don't want to fool around with the phone that's not going to have battery life that's going to sustain me through a day. And 8 hours of screen on time sounds like a lot. The one thing that I have always noticed is, these artificial tests of screen on time always seem to not match up with what the actual screen on time is on a daily, when you're using your phone daily. So I found that the iPhone 10 does a great job, gets me through the day and beyond. The iPhone 8 Plus was even better, but things like the Pixel 2 is good as well, but the V30 at 6 hours and 30 minutes, and then if LG can't build a phone that has decent battery life, LG's just their phone division is just gonna die. It's gonna die. It's gonna die. I know. Don't shoot the messenger. That is really disappointing news when it comes to the ThinQ. Everything else about the phone I like. It's got the good DAC. It's got the good. It's up to par with everything else, and a little bit better in terms of the headphone DAC. But this battery life thing could be the end of it all. So Apple Well, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not Apple is going to like keep the notch, if it's really a thing, or is Apple going to get rid of the notch at some point as technology moves forward and they can make their camera array smaller in the new all-screen phones. Well, this report that I saw on Boy Genius Report today from Chris Smith, he's found out that developers are now being highly encouraged to embrace the notch, to the point where if they don't embrace the notch, they may not have their new versions of their apps accepted onto the App Store. Apple calls the screen the Super Retina display, which means that the screen with the notch, I think. And so they are doubling down on the notch, and it sounds like they're in it for a longer haul than I think anyone expected or anyone wants. Definitely, it sounds like through this next cycle of phones. So there's going to be 3 new iPhones coming out. One is supposedly a iPhone 10 Plus, something similar to the iPhone 10 that we have now, and then an LCD screen that is 6.1 inches. Those are the things that we're hearing the most. And it sounds like those things are all going to have the notch. So if you're a notch hater, then you are just going to have to go to, well, you can't even go to Android, because now Android, they have their own notches. So I think if you don't like the notch, you may be SOL, as they say. So that's disappointing for, I'm sure, a lot of people. The next story I want to go to here is Samsung has brought out a new color for their phones. And this is, I don't even know if this is newsworthy, except for the fact that this color of the phone is only going to be available in China, and it's being marketed exclusively to women. So they have some marketing material here where they've got some Chinese actresses who are sporting this new, it looks like a reddish pink, maybe some sort of fuchsia, perhaps, color for the phone. And not only do you get the phone when you get this special edition, you get your choice of red lipstick to come along with the phone. I don't know if this is a cool thing in Asia, but selling a phone with a lipstick is just, I can't even imagine. So it doesn't make any sense to me, none whatsoever. However, that's what Samsung is doing. They're releasing this reddish color with your choice of lipstick. But it's only available in China, so if you've got connections over there, maybe you can get it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Not at all. That is a very strange marketing choice, though. Market the one color of the phone only to women. Like, I mean, specifically to women. Like, we'll give you a lipstick. Weird. Just weird. So the last story I want to take a look at here is that the Oculus Go, which was released a couple of weeks ago, one of the big problems that I had with using the Oculus Rift when I had it was I had to wear my glasses with the thing on, and I found that to be very uncomfortable. I came out of the thing, my glasses had been smushed up against my face, so there's all kinds of face juice all over the lenses, and I'm kind of anal about that anyway. I hate fingerprints on my glasses or anything like that. So, and it weighed down on my glasses and kind of pushed on my nose piece here and all that kind of stuff. So I was interested to see that there are now prescription lenses that you can get for the Oculus Go. And Facebook's approved this. Facebook is on board with these prescription lenses for the Oculus Go. You can, so I guess Oculus partnered with Frames Direct, and they will build custom prescription lenses specifically for the VR headset So I guess they're called Virtue Clear lenses. I wonder if they have bifocals, because my prescription is way terrible, and I'd be really interested to see if they could actually make lenses to my prescription, because I've got astigmatism, I've got nearsightedness, I got bifocals. I just had to make all the text on my iMac bigger, because my eyeballs get too strained. And I get headaches, and then my vision gets blurry. It's terrible. It's terrible. It doesn't say how much money these lenses would cost. I'm not guessing that they will be cheap. I think that they would be at least the cost of the device itself, if not more. If you go by how much prescription lenses cost when you go to, Lens Crafters or Pearl Vision or whatever's out at the mall these days. So yeah, no information about price here in this article that I was looking at, but yeah, that would be pretty cool to be able to go glassesless, naked faced with any kind of VR. I still am kind of on the fence with the Oculus Go. Hey, if you want me to try out the Oculus Go, why don't you either, if you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment down below and tell me that you want me to check out the Oculus View or Oculus Go. Sorry. And if you're listening to this out there in podcast land, you can send me a tweet at @JasonTLewis to tell me that you want me to check out the Oculus Go. And if I get enough people telling me that they want me to do that, then I will, because I am interested in like the wireless, free to roam around VR thing. Actually, I just care because they have VR Netflix, and it seems like having your TV on your face is maybe the best possible way to view things. I don't know. I'm interested, so you let me know if you want me to do it. That's all that I got to cover today here on the Painfully Honest Tech podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, if you're just finding me, then on YouTube, you can like and subscribe, and that would be great. If you're finding me in podcast land, then go ahead and like and like and subscribe is for YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, and then if you want to, which would really help, go on over to iTunes and leave a star rating of perhaps 5 stars, and then give me a little bit of a review. Tell me what you're enjoying, what you're not enjoying. Tell me what you're having for dinner. I don't care, but that is the engagement that matters the most to get podcasts to start to climb up the ladder and be more and more available in search and featured and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I hope this podcast is going to go. Thank you again for stopping by. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is the Painfully Honest Tech podcast. Until the next time, I am out.